Wow, that was sensational. What a fantastic way to open our show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to All Access, your backstage pass to arts and entertainment in the Leesburg and surrounding areas. I'm Kelly Summersall, and I am your host. On today's show, we have the honor of welcoming an internationally renowned musician. He is an award-winning recording artist and composer who has released a total of 17 albums. His concerts have been featured on PBS, and he has performed for His Royal Highness Prince Charles. Please join me in welcoming Pavlo. Pablo, welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be here.
We are so happy to have you here as well. We're so happy you stopped by to chat with us today.
Thank you.
I know you have an upcoming show in the area, and we're going to talk about that later. But first, I want to talk about you. I know you were born in Toronto, Canada, to Greek parents.
Yes.
I want to go back to the beginning. What was it like for you growing up?
Well, you know, I was born in a big city, so I had the opportunity to see all kinds of music. You know, there would be Paco de Lucia coming into town one day, Jose Feliciano another day, Gordon Lightfoot, Joni Mitchell. I mean, and my father was a music lover. So what happened is, as a kid, I grew up going to concerts with my father, you know, and seeing all the artists that he loved. You know, Billy Joel, Elton John, and we've seen them all over the years. But my mom at home always played the Greek music, you know.
Yes.
You know, like every good little Canadian boy, I used to jump up onto the kitchen table and dance when the music was on. And somehow, without, like, you know, knowing, I sort of started to mesh all that stuff together, you know, into my music and into my playing. You know, it was basically a childhood of music, and I was very lucky. My parents, you know, they provided such a beautiful, I always say this on stage, I feel like I was a lucky kid. I grew up in a house that was festive and happy, and music was on, and, you know, lots of food all the time, and, you know, it was a beautiful upbringing. You know?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And if we could fast forward a little bit, at the age of 10,
Yes.
your cousin
Yeah.
introduced you to a Beatles song?
Yeah. Wow, you know, you've done your homework. This is fantastic.
A little bit.
Yeah. My cousin Jimmy had a guitar at his house. I picked it up, and that was it. I didn't put it down for years, you know. And the first song I ever learned on the guitar was Day Tripper, of course,
Day
from
Tripper.
the Beatles. Yeah.
Yes.
And that was it. I think I played it for like 3 months straight, all day and all night.
Well, that was a good one. It's tolerable for 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
But what was your relationship with music prior to that?
Well, I was listening, you know, everything. You know, like I was saying, like, you know, my father loved guitar-based music. He loved flamenco, which is quite odd for a Greek immigrant, you know, coming to Canada. I don't know how he got into that, you know, but he loved flamenco. So I grew up listening to that, you know, style of music, and again, listening to what my mom would play in the house, Greek music. And then, you know, being born in Toronto and raised in Toronto, I grew up listening to, you know, all the 70s acts, you know. I know I look pretty young under these lights, but yeah, in the 70s, but in the 70s I grew up, you know, watching and listening to, like I was Gordon Lightfoot and Joni Mitchell and Neil Young and, you know, Elton John and Billy Joel and all kinds of great acts like that. You know?
It sounds like a great beginning.
Yeah.
But at the age of 12, you wrote your very first song?
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, I did. Yes, yeah.
What
Well,
was the name of
the
that
thing
song?
is that so I started playing guitar at the age of 10, but I started writing at the age of 12. I felt an immediate need to express myself almost emotionally, you know, like when you write songs, it really does, you know, it was the best way for me to get out my thoughts, even though it was instrumental. I was introduced by, I would sort of like, you know, it would be a great release for me. And I actually remember the first song I ever wrote. It's simple, but. I mean, just you know, it was something that I felt like I needed to do, you know, and songwriting really is the core of everything. I have TV shows and albums, but it's my songs that kind of drives everything, you know.
Yes. And now I know in your mid-20s, was it? You traveled to the island of Santorini,
Yes.
Greece.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was incredible. My parents are from Greece, and so they're from the northern part of Greece. But when I went to Santorini for the first time, as a writer, I got inspired in a very different way, you know. And this is now, you know, in the 90s.
Okay.
And so that's when I first started to combine this flamenco Latin with my upbringing of Greek culture. It was the first time I ever wrote a song in this style that I later called Santorini Sunset. You know?
So now, was that a specific instrument, or was it just your guitar?
No, it was my guitar, but I brought in the bouzouki into the music. But it was basically, it was the melodies, and Santorini Sunset was really. It was the first time I wrote a song that I really felt like, wow, this really does best, you know, show the love of the different styles that I like, you know, like into my music. You want me to play a little bit of that?
I was going to ask you that. You're way ahead of me.
Yeah.
Could you please? Thank you for serenading me. I felt like I was on a beach in Santorini, and you were my personal guitarist.
Well, we can still do that.
I would love
This
that.
summer, let's just bring our whole families there.
I was hoping it would be just me and you, but thank you. Thank you so much, Pavlo. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to All Access. I am your host, Kelly Summersall, and I am joined by the internationally renowned musician and award-winning recording artist, composer, and performer, Pavlo. Pavlo.
And dancer. No, just
We didn't write that in, but you can dance for us a little later if you'd like.
At the same time.
You do both. Well, you'll have an opportunity if you want to.
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
But prior to the break,
Yes.
you shared with us your early life and the inspiration behind some of your songs. Your sound was unique. There was nothing else like it. You dubbed it Mediterranean.
Yeah, I mean, look, I grew up listening to all kinds of music, of course. In the beginning, they called my music classical music, but it wasn't really classical. I mean, I play classical-like guitar, but it wasn't the style of music that I play. Some people called it flamenco. I mean, I had elements of flamenco, but it wasn't really flamenco, you know? So I sort of came up with this term called Mediterranean because I thought it best described the influences I brought into the music. And in fact, you know, back in the 90s, when there were record stores, for those kids, records are these like round, you know, so they actually created a category just for me because there was no category called Mediterranean music. It's not in Canada anyway. So they actually created that that genre for my music, you know. So at the end of the day, you know, you can call it whatever. I call it feel-good music. Really is what it is. You know, you want to call it Mediterranean, you want to call it blues, call it whatever you want. I call it feel-good music. I really do. That's my journey. My journey in my life is to go out, play my music, and hopefully make people happy.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all. That's my journey. You know. And when people walk away from my concerts feeling uplifted and energized, it makes me feel good. You know.
Yeah, I understand that because I've been listening to your music.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel really good.
Yeah, thank
I
you,
actually
Kelly.
listen to it when I work out, when I walk.
Oh, awesome.
And I just love the way you play the guitar. It's so unique.
Thank you.
It really is. And then you perform that unique style of music in many places around the world, in front of millions of people, including His Royal Highness Prince Charles.
Yes. Yes.
I have two questions,
Yeah.
though. What year was that? And please describe that experience for
Well,
us.
I mean, I believe it was 2001. It was interesting. I was on tour across the U.S. and my manager called me at the time and said, "You got to rush back to Toronto because Prince Charles is going to be here." And I somehow, believe it, only 7 artists in the entire country got picked, and I was one of them. And I later found out why. So Prince Charles' father was actually born in Greece, from Denmark descent, but he was born on the island of Corfu. So, you know, when Prince Charles, I guess when it was presented to him, he's like, oh, I'd like for that artist to be at this private function that we performed at. And then we performed, and after the show, I went and I spoke with him. And he, like, you know, I have bouzouki in my band, and I have a lot of Greek melodies, and he understood it all. Like, he was like, oh, I love the way you mix the Latin with the Greek stylings. He was very familiar with it. So it was a really cool moment. And now he's King Charles.
I was going to
so
say
in
that.
fact, I played for the king.
Isn't that amazing? That's even more amazing. Yeah. Now, these are incredible achievements for you. You performed also at the legendary Massey Hall in Toronto. Yeah. What was it like performing at such a prestigious venue?
You know, that was one of the special moments in my life. Growing up as a kid in Toronto. So Massey Hall is like the Carnegie Hall of Canada, for those who aren't familiar with it. And so that's the theater, the hall that I used to go to as a kid with my dad to see concerts. So when I performed, the first time I played there was in 2006. And it was just a real pinch me moment. But what made it even more incredible is that night, and we had sold it out, it's 2,700 seats. We had sold it out, and I'm playing for the first time at Massey Hall, and I look out in the audience, and it was Gordon Lightfoot. You know, Gordon Lightfoot, one of the most legendary songwriters of all time, was out in the audience. And it was just brought me back to full circle of being in the audience watching Gord, and then being on stage and having Gordon watch. It was just an incredible moment.
I can only imagine. Yeah. And then just to think, you know, I learned that there was a time when your music wasn't even accepted here in the United States.
Yeah.
And then folks told you it was going to be hard for you to create an American fan base.
Yeah.
Why do you think that happened?
I don't know. I mean, you know, that's just the gatekeeper saying that, you know. But what I knew is that I knew that the audiences were enjoying what I was doing. I just had to get in front of bigger audiences, you know, and that's it. And, you know, in the 90s, the Gypsy Kings were very popular. So in fact, and that, you know, they had asked me, the record companies had asked me, can you be more like the Gypsy Kings? You know, which I love the Gypsy Kings. I love them. I grew up on their music. But I was like, I'm Pavlo. You know, I have a Greek background. I was born in Canada, and I've got my own journey in life, you know. And my journey was to do the music that I was doing, combining the flamenco, Latin, Greek, Mediterranean style all in one. And it was a bit of a rough start, I'll be honest with you. But I'm really happy that I stuck to my guns, and I kept writing the music that felt right to me, you know. And it worked out.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it worked out, and all of us are glad, because now you have an amazing fan base in America.
Yeah, it's been incredible.
And you just mentioned the Gypsy Kings.
Yes.
And I know that's your show. You have an upcoming show.
Yes.
And you are opening for the Gypsy Kings. Could you tell us more about that show?
Oh, I'm so excited. So, yeah, I really am. I mean, I feel like a kid, you know. So I got a call with the opportunity of opening up for the Gypsy Kings, and it really is a bucket list moment for me. So in the Villages, and you know, if you told me in the 90s that you'll be playing in this town called the Villages in Florida years later with the Gypsy Kings, I would never have believed you, you know, but it's happening. We're playing with the Gypsy Kings at the Sharon L. Morris Theater, and it's going to be a one-time event. It's going to be the first time I've ever done it. It's going to be spectacular. It really is.
Well, you know, hopefully it's not a one-time event. I plan to be front and center.
Yes.
So absolutely. I am so excited. I know your show is going to be amazing. Now tell us, if folks wanted to get more information about your upcoming shows, where can they go to find that information?
I'm easy to find. You just Google Pavlo, P-A-V, the Greek version of Pavlo, not Pavlo, Pavlo.com. Pavlo.com, or if you just Google my name, it all comes up.
So everything Pavlo?
Yeah, it all comes up.
Pavlo.com.
Yeah, when you Google Pavlo, it's a Ukrainian wrestler that's about 350 pounds, or it's me, Pavlo. You'll tell the difference.
You'll know the difference. Oh, you are such a delight, I tell you. Well, before you go, can you give us an idea of what fans can expect when they come to your upcoming performances?
Well, I mean, I'm going to bring down my entire band, you know, but I'll play just a little bit of a song that really is close to my heart. It's a song called Cafe Castoria. And Castoria is a town in the northern part of Greece where my parents came from. It's a song that that's what inspired this piece of music, and it really is a small little humble thank you to my father for his support from the first time I picked this instrument up at the age of 10. I couldn't have done it without him, you know. And this song really is inspired about the town, but really inspired by my father's help in my life, you know. Cafe Castor, just a little touch.
Wow. Your show is going to be amazing.
Thank you, thank you. I'm really looking forward to it. I have the whole band coming with me. And who knows, maybe I'll jump on stage with the Gypsy Kings at the same time and jam out a tune.
We look forward to it. Thank you so much for stopping by today, Pablo.
Thank you very much.
Your journey is inspiring beyond words.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you.
And until next time, have the courage to do what you love and the drive to do it well. Ooh.